guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Lauren. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to talk just all about rosy toned, pink toned palettes. I've been so into them and I thought we could just have fun talking about them. So I have quite a few here. I didn't limit it to a number, but I also definitely didn't include like everything in here. I really tried to pick them based off the vibe. Like, is it the vibe I'm feeling? Not just is it technically pink? I don't know. That's just the way I was feeling. But I've been so into these kind of rosy tones, especially just this year, getting back into neutrals and all of that. I feel like this kind of rosy variation of neutrals is really exciting to me. It's not just brown, but also it's not super bold and necessarily super colorful, but also could go there depending on the flip and the type of pink it is. So I thought we could explore the palettes that I have together and just kind of talk about it. I would love to know your kind of rosy tone palettes down below. And I feel like when you really sit down and you're like looking at your palettes, there's a few different ways that rosy tones can kind of be expressed, I guess. There's kind of the traditional pink ones. There's like brownie pinks that are really pretty. There's purpley pinks. And then there's also like kind of terracotta, almost like warm leaning orangey pinks and reds. So I feel like I have a variation of that here. And let's just get started in no particular order. Let's just talk about them. I think one of the palettes that inspired me more recently to do this video, actually sit down, go through my collection, do a video inspired entirely by pink palettes, is this Truffle palette from Dose of Colors. When they launched this, I was excited, don't get me wrong, because I like the neutrals and I felt like it was a really yummy color story for being neutrals, but there are a lot of mattes in here, so I was kind of on the fence. They did send this palette to me and I actually have been digging into it more and more. It's one of those slow burn products. Sometimes that's the case where I'll get something and I'll try it once and maybe I just don't quite click with it right then. I kind of put it away, and this one's made it back out, and I feel like the more I'm using it, the more I'm really liking it. We all know I'm a shimmer girl, okay? We all know, and this one only has 2 in here, but I love both of the shimmers that are in here. And then with these mattes, I'm like getting more and more into these mattes, like just mattes in general, but specifically when we're talking about these rosy tones, I feel like they just blend really nicely on my skin. I've been noticing that throughout the year, really, from the beginning of the year till now, and I'm just, you know, embracing the mattes more and more, and I really love the selection of mattes that are in here. I tend to use this one so much in the crease. The 2 different shimmers in here are definitely different. One is more pink and a little bit more flaky, definitely has some nice shimmer to it. The other one looks kind of cool toned, but it actually has more of a neutral, almost kind of warm base to it with a cool leaning sparkle. And I love both of the shimmers with any of the mattes in there. I can get something more just brown if I want to, like those mattes are available in this palette, but I always reach for those rosy tones. I really love the looks that I've been creating with this, and I think one of the reasons initially also that it didn't quite vibe with me is that the shimmers in here, as much as they have a lot of texture, are a bit more subtle than maybe some of my other more textured shimmers, and I've just been getting more into that as well. So I just need a little bit of time to really appreciate that on the eye. It's one of those palettes that I feel like looks really good and like luxe out in the real world. And I know that's like a weird distinction, but it's something I've been noticing, that there are some products that just are bam, in your face, look so good on camera, look so good in the lights, but then there are other products that maybe don't have as much of an impact here, but when you catch yourself in a mirror out in the real world, when you catch yourself, you know, in the car mirror, maybe it actually looks good instead of like horrific. But anyway, I hope you know what I mean by that. And I feel like it's one of those ones that in real life looks so, so good. I really have been enjoying it. And it's one of the palettes lately that I have been wanting to almost stop at just the mattes. I'm like, who am I? Like just putting a matte in the crease, like a nice transition type of shade for me, and then just doing mascara, maybe a little inner corner highlight, and I'm like, I can't believe I almost want to forego a shimmer, like seriously. So I've actually really been loving this palette lately. Definitely a big one for the vibe of the rosy tones I've been into. I don't have it on today, I wore a different palette, but I wore the Truffle lipstick. It's inspired by the Truffle matte liquid lipstick from Dose of Colors. So I have been loving this palette. Some other ones that have definitely had a big impact on me this year are some of the early rosy palettes that came out. So of course the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2 2. This is the Rosy, I think it's like the Rose one. Rose? I don't know. It's the second one that came out. You guys know. And I did a whole video on this. I'll leave that down below. This is the one I did my eye look with today. I don't know. Every time I actually get this out and I have it in my hands, I'm like, I want to do a look. I really want to do a look. I think the mattes in here are so beautiful. Again, those like rosy mattes that have this neutrality to them. They're not actually pink pink. You know, they're definitely still neutral pinks. I love that. I just feel like it looks so good with my skin tone, with my eye color, like everything. And I can take it from like really basic to very everyday, very kind of minimal makeup look to like totally vamped up Vixen, you know, Siren. My eyes are like piercing blue, you know, very sultry. I can take it there with this palette. It has some creams on the end. I wish I used one today. I didn't know how my look was gonna go. It kind of just evolved as I did it. But I do actually like the creams in here for bases as well. I think that it really adds a nice depth and richness to this palette. All the shimmers in here are that really fun, sparkly texture, which I think just is amazing. I love that. You guys know I love that. So I can do something, just a shimmer on the lid if I want, just mattes if I want just a matte look, or combine them like I've done today. I just really enjoy this palette. I'm pretty sure this is my favorite out of the two. I also feel like the shimmer formula is just better. Like there's more good shimmers in here first off than the first palette, but also the shimmer formula in that one tends to get hard pan, and it's really hard to pick up the shimmer in there, which I have noticed happens a lot with those like wet shine shimmers. But in here, I noticed they're a little bit softer pressed, and so I can actually get them off onto my eyelids and not have as much of an issue with that. So I'm pretty sure this is my favorite one out of the two. So I love that palette, but at the same time as that one, also Sigma's new mod came out, and it's a very similar situation. I find this one leans a little bit more cool toned. It also goes a little bit more purple than the Patrick Ta. I'll hold them up really fast. So here's a little side-by-side comparison. I mean, they look very similar, but you're getting something way more monochromatic with the Patrick Ta, and I feel like it doesn't really go into the purple territory where this one does. There's some duochromes in here. The shade Avant-Garde is one of those like sheer kind of violet blue based duochromes, which is really pretty. You get a variety of different finishes in here as well. I've just really enjoyed the looks I've created, and you can go neutral, more purple, more pink and rosy. I think that this one's really good. And I feel like when I was really into texture, and I still am, I still love a lot of sparkle, but again, I'm just appreciating a lot more stuff. Like I can get down with so much more makeup now and kind of appreciate it in different ways than I could just a few years ago. And I really like that there are satins in here, that there is some more sheer finishes, mattes, even the shimmers that are in here. I feel like they're sparkly, but a little bit more toned down in a way that looks really finished and polished and still sexy though. So I also really love the new mod palette from Sigma. This one was sent to me, Patrick Ta I bought. All right, and then similarly and kind of in the same timeline, this is the NARS Summer Unrated, I think. Yeah, Summer Unrated palette. I don't know if this is available anymore, so I'm not sure if you can get this still, but I think of this as a rosy palette. I think when I initially ordered it, I didn't think of it really as a rosy palette from far away, but as I make looks with this, as I continue to use this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna give you rosy tones, peachy tones. It's for sure in that realm. And I really love the NARS formula. You guys know that. I find this to be user-friendly and also professional at the same time. And I feel like sometimes those things don't work together. Like something can be really easy to use for someone who maybe doesn't have as much knowledge or as much skill or as much muscle memory or the best brushes or whatever, you know? And then there can be products that are really amazing, but maybe don't have the user-friendly capabilities. Like you maybe need that knowledge. You need to know how to apply pigment, what kind of brushes to use, what densities, all that stuff to make it work the best. And I feel like with the NARS formula, it's both. It's very pigmented and high quality while still being blendable and easy to use. I feel like my looks always turn out better than I even expected. I don't know. I really love the NARS formula. So I really love this palette. Definitely a part of it. This one goes a little bit warm though. It has some more matte browns in here too. And so I do think that it kind of leans rosy for summer, and it could be for fall though too. I mean, like I said, so much of the rosy tones can go for different seasons, especially if you're going with different tones. Like even bringing it back to the new mod palette, to me, this one could go easily into winter and even spring because it has more of those purples and a few more of those like cool tones in it. Let's talk about a few small palettes. Of course, you guys, like you have to know me at this point. I'm gonna talk about the 1111 quad from Rowan. This is like such the vibe of the rosy tones. It is luxe. It is so sparkly, so shimmery, so textured. If you are like, girl, I want the texture, this is the palette, okay? And I will shout it out every time because you need to save the money if you're gonna buy this. BoxyCharm has this usually for $16 instead of the 40 something. They do different sales. I know they're like switching up how they do sales, so I don't know if you have to be subscribed or not. I'm not entirely sure. Sometimes you don't have to be though. They do different sales at different times. So if you can get this on a deal, I highly suggest this quad. It is a cream quad. It has lots of texture. These creams do not lock down, but they are so beautiful, so sparkly, very luxe. If you want the shimmer and shine, I feel like of indie shadows, you love that, but you want maybe a little bit more of a neutral take on them and a little bit more, I don't want to say high class. That's like, it's not like the vibe. I don't like that, but just a luxury version, you know? It's like still neutral. It's still put together in a classical sense, I guess, or in a traditional sense. This is it. It's like mixing both worlds. I love it so much. I highly suggest this. There are 3 very rosy tones in different ways. There's like a light pink that has some really beautiful, almost like confetti rainbow sparkle in it. You know, I can't stop making me describe it. But then there's kind of a peachier one and a little bit more of a maroon shimmer in here, as well as a nice gray, which has also that kind of rainbow confetti shimmer in it. So I love this palette. You guys already know. This one I wanted to throw in here. I haven't had a ton of experience with it yet, so I can't talk too much, but it's the Rosewater quad from e.l.f. And I feel like this definitely falls into this category. These are so affordable. I think they're like $3. Maybe they're up to $4 at this point, but it has those like rosy tones with a nice deep matte, so you can kind of get the depth you want. This one also leans more in that cool realm, which I really, really love. I can't wait to bust into this more, get some more thoughts on it, and I wanted to put it in here because it fits the vibe so much. And this was also a recommendation from you guys. I had the pumpkin pie one first, and a lot of you guys said for me to try out this one. Oh, another palette. Okay, all of these palettes are inspiring me to make this a video. That's really what it is, because I'm like, well, this one's from this year. Oh, this one I've been using so much. It's like, oh, all of them. And I even took some out of here because I was like, Lauren, you've been talking about these palettes so much. So there's a lot to pick from. I wanted to mention the Sydney Grace California Coast palette. I got this during their Christmas in July sale. I picked up a few things, and this palette is a more neutral version of this kind of rosy pink thing. Looking at it, you might be like, what are you talking about? It's just neutral. But all the shimmers in here, well, 3 of the shimmers in here definitely have something kind of rosy, maroon, pink leaning to them. And I find every look I do kind of gives me that, and I love it. I love it so much. The mattes in here, the quality. Laguna, I don't have to even think when I put this matte on my eyes with a fluffy brush. It just blends itself out. It looks so even. I don't know how to, it's just so even, so effortless. I think that they do a matte formula so well. The shimmers that are in here are more of a standard metallic, so they don't have that sparkle the way that I normally like, or even like a sheerness like I normally like, but I feel like it still gives such a beautiful look. I really have been enjoying this. This comes in 2 different variations. One's the light version, and then they have a darker version as well, which I think it's just so awesome that they even do that in the first place, because, you know, color's so dependent on the color that surrounds it, and a color that's super deep on me isn't going to be that way for everyone. So I just love that they take that into consideration with their palettes. But yeah, the quality is just amazing, and I knew I wanted to buy stuff during the sale, and I made sure to do it at a time where this was like the free gift with purchase, and I love it. I'm like, oh, it's so good. I mean, I'm a California girl anyway, so I love that too, but I've been loving this palette, and that matte also makes me just like only want to do that. It makes me only want to wear mattes. I'm like, I'm having a crisis if I only want to wear mattes. I never usually do it. That's the thing. I like all the looks. I'm like, can I wear 7 looks at one time? I want an all matte look, but I also want an all shimmer look, but I also want a smoky eye, but I also want a halo eye. Like, I want to do all of those looks. Too little time, you know, that's how it feels. I want to mention an oldie but a goodie. This one is from Odin's Eye. This is the Freja palette, and this is a more terracotta leaning rosy palette. These I also really, really love, especially for fall, in summer, that type of thing. And you can see it here. It almost looks more orange, but I'm telling you, on my eyes, this just looks really rosy to me. And really, I mean, because of that orange leaning and my blue eyes, this always makes my eyes just like so poppy. It's like a little intense, like calm down, girl. This is very monochromatic, but I love the mattes in here. I love the shimmers in here. I can do so many different looks. It's been a favorite for a very long time from Odin's Eye. I have a code with Odin's Eye. You can check that out. I'll leave all my codes, all my links. I was sent this palette. I like to just tell you guys verbally. I think I'm like supposed to, but also I like just letting you guys know what I've purchased, what I haven't, just so everyone's aware. But anyway, I really love this one, and I definitely love it for when I want something a little bit more warm toned. This definitely delivers, and I can always take it pretty punchy as well, and get a little bit out of the neutral zone with this palette. I think we only have 4 left. I really tried to like not run through them, not like I'm in a hurry, but also like my fucking goodness, we get it. Like you see the color story, it's just fun. It doesn't have to be like a novel on each palette, you know? I want to mention a newer one though. This is another small one. I think it's my last smaller palette, and this one's from Revlon. I picked this up because Ulta was having 10 times the points, and I've had this palette and the other one from this line that's more neutral on my list for forever, okay? For forever. And this doesn't have a ton of rosy tones. It really has just the one, but it feels like it should go in this video. That's why I put it in here. It feels like the vibe I'm talking about. I have used both of these palettes. Again, I'm not showing you the other one, I guess. I don't know why I keep freaking talking about it, but I really like the formula on these. It's subtle, but it also has something to it. It feels more expensive than just drugstore. I mean, these little quads aren't exactly cheap. They're like $11 or $12, which is what has held me off from buying them in the first place. But I love every shadow I've used from them. I've used them multiple times, and I think that they just look so gorgeous on my eyes. I'm really into it, and this one has a nice rosy color, so good all over the lid by itself, just so beautiful. It also has this nice tan cream shade, and although it doesn't look like much, it does add this really nice crease as well. It has a little bit of shimmer to it, although it looks like it might be kind of matte, and I love it. It also has this really pretty duochrome that just, it's very light. If you're used to like indie duochromes, you're gonna be like, what the hell is that? And I get it, but if you like look at it from a different lens, kind of bring back the expectation for this huge punch, it is such a subtle and beautiful duochrome, I think, anyway. And then if you want to spice it up, you have a nice deep teal, and I think that it creates just a beautiful look. Also, you almost think like, how is that gonna work? Like, are the colors gonna clash? Like a teal, but it really just works as a darkening shade, and especially with the duochrome, those two together looks so good. So really loving that, and I feel like although it only has the one rosy tone, the whole thing really fits the vibe for me anyway. Last 3 palettes, I have to mention the Rose Quartz palette. This is one of the palettes that really, I think, started my love for neutrals, because I picked this up more on a whim, and this is the palette that convinced me that I should try more makeup. I really should. It could have been so easy, I guess, to write this off is what I'm saying. I definitely could see myself being like, it's boring, it looks washed out, it's blah, blah, blah. But on, oh, it looks so good. I've created some of the most beautiful looks that I've ever made with this, and it really just helped me redefine what I'm into, what I like, and to give things an actual shot on my eyes a little bit more, give things an actual chance, like in person and all that, because you might find some of your favorite makeup if you don't just write it off, but also you don't need everything, and also you get it. Okay, anyway, this one leans a little more cool. I still consider it a rosy palette. It just doesn't have the warmth, and I love that. Also, I think this one works so well for winter, for all year round, don't get me wrong, but I love some of the taupey shades that are in here as well, and the mattes, I love the mattes. There's some beautiful shimmers, lots of fun duochromes in here. Moon Magic is, I mean, so good, so good. Very like rainbow, and the type of shimmer that I love, the type of sparkle that I love. Same with Blissful as well. Both of those are just stunning. So I love this palette. I need to bust this out again. This could go in my Shop My Stash next for sure. Second to last palette, if you're looking for a neutral palette from an indie brand, I can't recommend the Glaminatrix Nearly Natural palette enough. I always want to call it the Nearly Neutral, but it's not. It's the Nearly Natural. And this one has more than just rosy tones, but I would say at least half of this palette leans more that way. But there's so much in here. I have a whole review on this palette if you guys want to check it out. They sent this to me. I also bought it. It's like my most anticipated palette of the year because they teased it for so long. But I feel like you're really getting tons of pigment in here. here. Really quality mattes, tons of pigment in those mattes for sure. And then the shimmers are stunning, so sparkly, so beautiful. I mean, you're getting that indie quality, but then in neutrals. And I also just love that it has some greens in here. I've made some really beautiful looks with those greens, and I love it. You know, it almost is a lighter, more neutral version of a Secret Garden palette. I always feel like that when those rosy tones, the olive greens, and all that come together, it feels like Secret Garden, like romantic Secret Garden, and I really enjoy this one. So love the Nearly Natural. Yes, Nearly Natural. And last, I want to shout out the Honre, I think is how you say this name. This is a palette from Kylove, and I just love, you guys know, I love the 9 pans from them. And then inside, lots of these rosy tones. These go a little bit more colorful. I feel like just in general their brand does, but I really like it. I've created some great looks. It has a green though, a pop of blue, a pop of yellow, and I feel like all of their color stories in the 9 pans are always so interesting and give a lot of variety for being smaller, and I definitely want to pull this out. I love the outside packaging as well. It's definitely the vibe, I guess, that I think of for these kind of romantic pink rosy looks. I would say 80% of the time I'm doing a rosy eye, I'm kind of going for this look, you know? Other times I'm going a little more intense. This one kind of goes past and is more intense, but I just love them. If you can't tell, I'm just like so into the rosy tones. I think they are so beautiful, so pretty. The palettes that are this year, this is this year, this is this year, this is this year, this new mod, summer unrated, all of these are this year. So yeah, it's been a trend this year for me for sure. But I would love to know, like I said, what are some of your favorites? What do you have in your collection? By no means am I saying go out and get these. I just hope that you can go through whatever you happen to have. Maybe some of these are something that's on your list now, but I'd also love to know what you have in case I don't have it. Maybe I could check it out. And really, I just wanted to give some love and appreciation to what I do have and get excited about it. So if you want to see how I did this look, I'm going to get into that now, and I hope you enjoy. All right, guys, let's get started on the look. I'm priming already. I'm using the MAC paint pot in, I think it's called Vintage Selection. This one does have some shine to it. It has a little bit of color. It's like slightly taupey, and I feel like it would make a nice base for whatever of the palettes I decide to use. You know, naturally, I gotta use the Patrick Ta. I just want to use this one. It's been a second. I really like this palette. It has some nice shimmers. It has some nice mattes. I'm not going to deny myself. So I'm going to go in first with this shade here, the second lightest matte. I'm just going to be putting that into my crease. I'm kind of keeping it to the outer corner, and I'm just building that up. I'm going to build it up a decent amount. I feel like the mattes in here kind of get darker than I expect, so I'm really just taking my time building that up to the depth I want. Next, I'm going to take this shade here, and I'm going to put that on the outer corner. This one has like a little more purple to it. And I'm just building that up in that outer corner. You know, I kind of want to take this on my whole lid. I'm going to take on my whole lid. And then I'm just gonna blend out the edges. For my lid shade, I'm taking this rosy, light champagne-y color, and I'm just going to tap that on. I might need to put a glitter glue down, but I kind of want to just see if I can just lay this down. Yeah, I think it's working fine. And I'm just pressing that into the look we have down. All right, I like that. I want to add some highlight shades. There really isn't one in this palette to do that with, at least. I don't think so. I should have used one of these bases, but I didn't know where the look was gonna go. You already knew. I'm just gonna use my palette graph. I love the way a shimmer highlight on the brow bone really pulls together and blends out like the edges of an eye look. It's like one of my favorite things. For my lower lash line, I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury pencil. This is just a bronze color. I'm also tightlining a little bit. And I think I don't know what to do. I'm gonna use that first matte shade and just put a little bit in the outer corner. And let's do mascara, and I'll see if I need anything else. Yeah. All right, so I have the mascara on. I'm taking a little bit of concealer and just going right here just to brighten it up. I feel like, I don't know if it's the powder. I also, I'm not gonna lie, I cried a little bit today. Luckily, it was emotional, but not like sad. So that's good, but I feel like my eyes are kind of like done. You know, like done with the day. Ooh, I like this look. Definitely a little darker for me, but I think it's still fun and not even as dark as it could go. I'm gonna zoom you in all the way. Don't mind my eyebrows. I feel like they look a little wonky, but I'm not gonna change them. I'm not. So here is the look. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing just like a easy look. I feel like this kind of smoky eye could be done with so many different palettes, so many different colors. It doesn't have to be the rosy tones, but I do like it with the rosy tones. So yeah, okay. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to know any of your favorite rosy tone palettes down below, whether they're more pink or purpley or terracotta. I just really love this variation on neutral, and I think it can play for all different seasons, tons of different occasions. Like, I'm just really into it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.